emphasize that in your conversations with them. Ideally, you can also ask the other founder or an investor, maybe an angel investor, to reach out to that candidate and emphasize that same reason why they should be joining you. Closing the offers is going to be hard, especially with early stage companies. And so even if it doesn't work out in your first offer, that's all right. You'll make it work in the next one. That's it from me today. Good luck on making your offers. Please reach out if we can help with anything. With that, we'll bring on Harj for a bit of a discussion on hiring.
Thanks, David. That was a fantastic talk. I had a few questions that I'd love to discuss with you. So first one, high level, what are the 3 most common mistakes you see founders make when they're starting to hire for the first time?
That's a good question. I think the first one is one that we talked a bit about in the presentation as well, which is around not selling the company and not understanding that hiring is really all about sales and talking about why your company is great, why they should be joining, especially early stage founders where they've done a lot of selling to customers, to investors, and then they also need to do selling for hiring. And sometimes that only clicks a little bit later on.
What do you think it is that they do instead? Is that they skip to like interviewing the candidate?
Yes, yeah, they kind of skip right into interviewing the candidate. Sometimes like no proper intro on themselves, on the company, why it's an exciting place to be, and much more kind of directly into more generic candidate questions. And I think the candidates feel that too. They know if it's kind of being treated like a process and they might not be as excited either.
And I always found that it's another way that you stand out from the bigger companies is that the recruiters can never sell the company as effectively as the founder. So just opening up by talking about yourself, why you founded the company, knowing that for a candidate, knowing that they're on the call with the founder can be really effective to close those first few hires.
Yeah, and I think ideally it even feels conversational. It's like getting to know the person and like being excited to be there, and hopefully they feel the same way too. I think the second one is really on the outreach side. So kind of making that more generic, especially if you benchmark against the emails that you have received inbound and use those examples. They're often pretty bad examples because I'd say the average recruiting outreach is not a very well-crafted email. It's probably not personalized. It probably doesn't have a clear call to action. It probably doesn't sell the company a lot. And so instead, really thinking first principles, what is an email I would respond to and what is an email that would get me excited, and trying to use that as the bar for the outreach messaging.
I would love to go deeper into that. You mentioned that some of the companies you work with are getting 40% plus response rates, and it's not just brand, it's that they're sending these really well-crafted outbound emails. What exactly are they doing to make these emails and messages so great? Like, and any examples that might spring to mind?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things that they do well. The first is creativity on who they actually send the outreach to. And so they'll have pretty creative sourcing strategies or ways of finding talent. Maybe that's people who went to the same high school as you. Maybe that's people who happen to have worked at a similar company previously and you have some connection through that. So really going deep and thinking about every individual person, why am I actually reaching out to them? And then that also gets reflected in the outreach text. And so for 40% response rates, those are definitely going to be personalized. And that may mean you spend 5 minutes on personalizing each outreach message. It takes a good amount of time, but it's also worth it because you're going to be getting in touch with people that are definitely not going to be responding otherwise.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, it's so similar to the advice we give to the companies during the batch, like sales, right? It's like so many founders come in and they think, I just need to send 1,000 emails per day. They don't need to be personalized. It's just volume. But the number one thing we teach them is, no, you actually have to spend time per handcrafting every email, making it personalized if you want to see any response rates.
Yes, yeah, I think almost all of the best practices, or even like from the YC content on how to sell, apply pretty directly to recruiting as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting insight that the the outreach strategy, like who you're even targeting, can tie into the personalization. Like if you're looking for people that you have something in common with, and you put that in the outbound email, you should see a higher response rate on that.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's also like kind of not being afraid to break the rules a little bit of, Twitter DM outreach can be really good. It works particularly well if you have a bit of a Twitter presence and you post some content on there. And so I guess just getting creative with what that means is, I think, a pretty high impact.
Yeah, I was curious on that front. Something else you mentioned, for example, like recruiting out of a Discord forum.
Yeah.
Like how do you do that tactically? Like, do you just jump in there and say, hey, would you like a job at my company? Like, how should you play that?
Yeah, I think the cases where it works best is where it's like, one, thematically relevant. So there's kind of some type of related reason that everyone is in this Discord. Maybe it's a Discord about an open source project and people are kind of talking about that, and that is the main theme. And then 2, it should feel somewhat authentic to the founder. So if this is your first time opening Discord and you're kind of starting to send DMs, it might get a little bit tricky. But if Discord is somewhere where you feel at home and you're in there anyways, it can be a lot more natural.
One question I have, I think that every founder has on their mind is that when it comes to sourcing, isn't effectively everybody sourcing for like the same people and it's highly